and that is no effort whatsoever. Little pinky, love the auto return air seal. Hello there folks, my name is Ben and welcome to another Shots Fired Airsoft video. And today we've got a new release from Worker. This is the Harrier. I've not opened this box at all yet. I don't know what we're going to find inside. I've not watched any other unboxings. I know a small amount about the blaster already. However, I could open this up and it could all be in bits, but we'll find out. It should be in 2 bits from what I can work out. Little look around the box. Worker again, carrying on their recent sort of decent packaging. Apart from that, there isn't too much to get on with on the box. Not real information or anything. Let's just have a look inside and see what we find. Okay, so in there we appear to have a spare barrel and spare spring. I believe these are slightly powered up versions of what is already in the gun fitted, or the blaster rather. A couple of mystery packages, we'll have a look at those in a sec. And we have the rear half of the receiver and then the front half. I'm recording this after the fact. When I tipped the box out, the little booklet of instructions and a pack of Worker Gen 3 darts didn't fall out. So it comes with about, I don't know, probably about 10 Worker Gen 3 darts, maybe 12. And it also comes with instructions, which are English and Chinese. It does open out into a nice little quick sort of assembly guide. Shows you how to put springs in, shows you how to sort of leave the O-ring. Does actually say that these stickers should be applied to the blaster on the name plates on the side. I probably won't bother doing that because I like mine the way it looks without anything on it. Shows you how to fix the scar, how to work the stock, the usual sort of things you'd expect, and sort of like a brief takedown of bolts in the blaster itself, including a very helpful guide as to which length and where they go, which is very handy if you have to disassemble it. This comes pretty much ready built. This is a designed in takedown point, so it is designed to split in the middle to allow you quick access to springs. Not so much the barrel could be swapped out to the front, and I believe the barrel is actually threaded. If I just pop this one out, yeah, if you can see there, the barrel is actually threaded in these, so that can be screwed in, screwed out fairly quick. Very nice looking barrel, very light, typical sort of aluminium Worker Nerf barrel. Springs themselves, a little while ago Worker seemed to switch to these very narrow springs, which bear more in relation to like an AEG spring than they do to sort of old school fat Nerf springs, which can be absolutely enormous. Yeah, it's pretty stiff. Just to see what the prime's like on this. Just going over the blaster, we have a really cool little, I believe it's a 5-round sniper clip, essentially, or sniper magazine, which is a very short Talon geometry sort of magazine that this comes with. This will take normal Talon mags as well, right up to anything that's Talon geometry, and I believe the Tachis are about 29 rounds. But sort of like your average sort of 18 and 15 Talons will fit in this fine. It's a really cool little magazine there. Does fit in very nice. Doesn't want to pull out, and then a nice easy release on the paddle. Trigger moves front to back as opposed to being sort of a swinging trigger assembly. You've got a safety on the side, nice and stiff. Had the Swift before, and quite often the safety would actually slip into the safe position when you went to fire it. And we have a very nice modern looking stock, which is on a standard looking M4 buffer tube, and that will be multi-position. So plenty of adjustment depending on your arm span. Looks like I've got a good distance from the trigger to the well, from the grip to the back of the stock. It doesn't have a rubberized butt plate, but it does have ribbing for a bit of extra grip. Aside from that, not too much to talk about. In the back, we do actually have an Allen key, which is for taking apart the takedowns, and should fit most of the other screws on the blaster, I believe. Grip is very comfortable. Obviously this being a sort of a non-grip magging grip blaster, you don't run into that issue where the grip is huge, so it does fit very nicely. No issue with clearance on the handguard, which is metal, very nice, and so is the trigger. Rubberized, nice and grippy, feels like it's going to be a very comfortable blaster. I'll throw that out of the way. Let's move on to the front section. And what we have here is another mystery bag. I'll just find something to open this quick. First thing out is we have a huge metal top rail. This is a very nice piece of kit. I'll just pop her out. Oh, it's nice and weighty. It does nice, weighty feeling part. It does feel like it's going to give the blaster a fair bit more rigidity when it's fitted. Especially as this will be fitted to both halves of the blaster when they are connected together. So you will have to remove a couple of screws out of this to get the blaster to split. So it's not quite as easy as popping out the 2 bolts in the takedown. You will have to remove the bolts in this as well, or at least a couple of the bolts in this. But very nice piece of kit, good to see. And this is the front half of the Harrier. And we can see we've got all metal internals, very nicely produced. Skinny pusher, which means you'll be able to remove and replace the mag when required. And we actually have a spring return on the priming, which is very nice indeed. So as you pull it back, it will automatically click back forwards. As you can see, there is a return spring in there. We have a bottom rail, and we do have space on the sides for extra rails. These will be standard sort of 20, I think they're 21mm Picatinny rails. And yet again, lovely metal internals. So all that said, I'm going to get into some of these little bags, and I'll be back with you in a sec once I've got them unwrapped. So in our little collection of extras, our little baggies, you have a worker solid scar. These are actually pretty good for a 200 FPS-ish blaster. If you go much over that, you'll start to find that your darts will start fishtailing, because there just isn't the twist required to make one of these work pretty well. But a very nice inclusion. We have a very nice worker pump grip, vertical pump grip. These are pretty good quality. You're certainly not going to crush them, and do feel very nice in the hand. They're pretty grippy, got a bit of texturing on. But I do like these. I've used them on a couple of other blasters. A pair of lovely side rails. These would be to go on your side of your blaster, which will give you a couple of extra options for tack accessories. A large Allen key, which I assume is for doing the grip. And we also have a side prime grip. This is a nice addition, and it gives you that sort of sniper-esque feel of a bolt action. Obviously it's not in the correct place for a bolt action as on a real sort of sniper rifle. However, this will go nicely with the short mag, and if you were running, say, a bipod on it or something like that, it would enable you to easily reach forward and prime the blaster. So all very well and good. Let's look at how it goes together. You also get a set of spare O-rings and the bolts to actually assemble the blaster. So regards fitting the blaster together, very easy to do. It's very nice to see. Sometimes this could be a bit of a pain in the ass to get together. You had to sort of make sure your ram base and pusher was located correctly before you could slide them together. This, you just simply make sure that they are relatively lined up and it will fit together. 2 long screws supplied with the blaster. One goes in, another one goes in, and there we are. It is essentially together. Pop the Allen key out the back, and I think we'll find that these will actually do these Allen bolts up. Top rail, just pops on like that. It's a very nice fit, and that pretty much almost friction fits there. And then you have a selection of small screws which all appear to be the same length, which is nice, which I'm going to assume just sit in the top, and then will need to be done up with the supplied Allen key. Also, one thing for the fit and finish, I've just slapped this rail on, dropped the screws in the holes, and they all thread in absolutely perfectly. Worker continuing their present thing of having brass bosses, or metal bushings at least, in every required screw hole, which means that you are screwing into metal rather than the plastic of the shell using a self-tapper. This should ensure that the shell lasts a fair bit longer than it would have done otherwise. I'd still say you don't really want or need to go ham with the tightening, but at the same time you want to make sure that you get to the point where you just give them a little pinch without going crazy or actually yanking on the Allen key once it reaches a point where it doesn't really want to go any further. So that is together. That feels very, very stiff. There's almost no deflection whatsoever in the shell, which is fantastic. Let's fit the side prime. Why not? Let's go for a bit of an unusual accessory. And there we have it. So we now have a side prime. Pop the stock on. And that is it for assembly. Oh well, there are a couple other bits, but wow, that is such an easy prime with the standard spring. It'd be interesting to see what the chrono says when we put that across, but that is no effort whatsoever. Little pinky, love the auto return. Air seal. Whoa, that's pretty damn good. Let's try that again. I'm going to see how long it will hold a seal for. That's 10 seconds, almost a complete air seal. Very impressive out the box, well done worker. So, with that all being said and done, let's have a little look at swapping barrels. I do believe that these are a standard thread. I might have to speed this up because there's a fair old thread on these things. And there we are. So that is the standard barrel. This is the optional barrel that comes with the blaster. So you can see the length difference. And then down here, I believe somewhere, I actually have another optional barrel and spring which I got in before the review, just to see what this will do at the higher end of its performance envelope. And this is a 450mm barrel and the 1.6 by 300 spring. The springs in these do vary in length, gives you varying levels of pre-compression, so there's 300, 250s, and I don't know if they're shorter than that, but essentially there's various different spring weights and various different spring lengths. So there's a 1.6 250, there's a 1.6 300, which this one is, and it'll be interesting to see what it puts across the chronograph on this spring and the optional barrel. Although really the blaster is more aimed at this kind of power level with the springs and barrels that are supplied. It is not unlikely that running it at a very high FPS may eventually damage the blaster. Certainly the Swift with a 1.8 spring in after a while would actually start to crack and break the shell in half where the takedown point was. Hopefully this isn't too much of the case. The shell does certainly seem to be very strong. One of the other things I will mention is that worker do expect you to go a bit ham, so it actually has 2 extra catch springs in there to actually fit if you are going to run more spring weight. Fitting a new barrel is simply a case of take the new barrel, place into the front of the blaster, slide it in towards the back. Once it stops, just screw it in. It is a normal right hand thread, and then once you're fitted, you are done. And with that simple swap, we are back to having a full air seal again. It's very impressive that you can, with the threaded barrels, you can just swap barrels like that and you don't worry about losing your air seal or anything like that, which is really quite impressive. So I'll be absolutely honest with you, initial impressions of this, I do like it. It is very comfortable. You can clamp at the front if you want, and yeah, looking forward to getting it across the range. So there we are, just fitted the optional tack rails, and it went on lovely. It does look really nice with the sort of gunmetal grey rails. There's a slight bluish tinge to them, along with the side prime handle. The trigger and the handguard all match as well. Really, really nice fit and finish on this, very impressed. Just going to stick a standard 50 round Talon to show that it is actually Talon compatible. Again, this doesn't require you to prime the blaster back to get the magazine out. It is a skinny pusher. As you can see there, it pops out nice and easily. And new one goes in nice and easily, and that's how it looks with a 15 round Talon in it. Not at all bad. Still loving the air seal. So when it comes to swapping springs, I'm going to try and take this down in the easiest possible manner, which I think is going to be removing the front two rail screws. My theory is correct. And then undoing the two main takedown screws. And that indeed does allow the front end of the blast to come off with the rail still in place, which is nice. So you don't have to remove the rail completely each time. It keeps it down to a 4-bolt removal at the front end. I'm going to have a wild guess that if I tip this forward and shake it, we do indeed receive our spring, and this is our plunger assembly with rubber padding on the front. Nice to see plenty of silicone grease in there for lubricant, and it's nice to see that it is silicone grease. Worker used to supply and use white lithium grease, which seems to be okay for about a month and then goes hard, and you'd end up trying to clean the gunk out of your gun after a short blaster after a short while. So just to give you an idea, that is the original spring. This is the spring they give you, which is probably about 50mm longer. So if I just pop that in, stick it on the back of the plunger rod and send it back into the blaster like so. So you can see it's in there. It's going to sit slightly further out due to the longer spring, and then slide the two halves back together. With the longer spring in there, it is a bit more of a faff to get together, but it has just clicked into position. And if I find my nice long screws, pop them in, we are back together. I'm just going to tweak this up and see how it changes the prime. Okay, so it's certainly a harder prime. But certainly nothing to write home about. It's still very easy. Having seen some performance figures for this, that prime is very impressive for the performance that you get. So looking forward to getting this one across the chronograph. Anyway, that's pretty much it from me. Oh, actually, if you want to know what it looks like with the resin scar on the front, there you go. They friction fit on the front. That's actually quite loose. You might have to apply a very small amount of tape. I mean, you could also sand just to rough the surface up on the inside of the bearing scar. Sorry, not bearing scar, scar. However, I have to see what it's like when it fires. I will use this for the firing review, by the way, just to, obviously as it comes with it, and I'll see if it comes off or whether it's going to sit there like a good boy. But anyway, I've been Ben. It's been a Shots Fired Airsoft video. Hope to see you in the firing test of the Worker Harrier. Lovely piece of kit.